What's up? This is Nick Grant. You're watching the Smoke Station.
Yeah, shaking what your mama gave you. You got to act right. I should nominate you. You know you a star.
What up? This is Nick Grant. Yeah, sound listen
and I have my boy, my big homie, Nick Grant.
What's up?
Nick Grant is in the building, and we're talking about his new project, Return of the Cool. So, if you're not familiar with Nick Grant, I normally let people give their own introduction. So I've been close enough as you got for long as I can do it for him. He one of the youngest MCs in the game doing this thing, new, fresh on the scene. 2016 was a big year for music, and it was a bigger year for Nick Grant.
Yeah.
You gave us your first project, 88.
88.
So, what was the thought process behind going from 88 into this? Because the sound is similar, but it has its own feel. So, give us the drop behind those two.
I didn't want to make the same. First of all, 88, mixtape, dope. It took my whole life to make that body of work. I didn't want to go into the next body of work, with people expecting 88 because I had already done that. I wanted people to know that I could make a body of work that appealed to the masses and not just hip hop heads and people that just love lyrics and hip hop. I wanted to make records that can be played NBA.
Okay.
Which we got played MLB, car commercials, just stuff that people can play everywhere and not just in the hip hop circle. So, but still maintaining my integrity, still not compromising for radio or not compromising for a record label. Or people saying you gotta make this kind of record or you gotta make a hit record or you gotta make a club record, just doing what I do organically and let people come into my world whenever they felt the time was right to come into my world. So just kind of creating two bodies of work that feel different but still staying myself. That's why you say it kind of still feels the same but different. It's different 100%, but it's still me.
Okay. So like you said, 88 was really a process of, it took a while to make that. It was like a life story.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
how did it feel to have people finally recognize that and take hold of it? Because that's really how I met you with the music.
Yeah.
I met you because you was on somebody else's song.
Yeah.
And just seeing it take from being a feature on one guy's song and then taking it off to where you on Colbert, that's a big step.
Yeah, for sure.
So like, what did it feel like when you saw people were first taking notice of you?
Oh man, I had been writing rhymes for so long in my room that only my best friends and family could hear and see me working hard and sacrificing and doing so much stuff. So, for some people it feel like, oh, it's overnight. They look at me like, because of the strong team that I have, they look at me like the rich white kid. I can have anything I want.
They work.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I feel you. And you've been working before you was with them. You've been putting in the ground. So it wasn't overnight.
Absolutely. The story just had a great ending.
Yeah.
My story is like, I had all this turmoil and all this drama and all this negative stuff and all these disappointments, bad record deals, stuff not happening, spending my own money, shooting videos that nobody would see, and all this stuff and all this groundwork that I was doing on my own. But that was lessons and me sacrificing and God seeing how much I wanted it to where He put me in a position where I can have these great people.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? If I didn't, if I had these people immediately, we wouldn't even be talking about me because I would take everything for granted.
Yep.
So it was that hard work and all the sacrifice and those disappointments that built me up to be the person that when I face them now, they don't even affect me. You know what I'm saying? So
exactly.
To have these great people to where all I have to do is just listen to them. You can't ask for a better situation than that.
And you do have a great team like the '96 Bulls up here with this roster of players you got.
Tamiko Hope, Amir Boyd, Jason Jeter, Shaka Zulu, Kirsten Daniel, everybody.
Wow, you like a young Nick Grant because ain't nobody touching you right now.
Man, it feels great, bro.
It feels good.
My thing is Michael Jordan of my era. I have all these great coaches. How can I not be Michael Jordan?
Yep.
And if I feel like if I let people down, it's because they let themselves down by not listening. Because I'm putting the work out there for them to enjoy and respect and listen. So
it is. Return of the Cool. Let's talk about that, man. You just gave the students at Clark Atlanta a listen to it.
Absolutely.
So I want to talk about my favorite tracks on it. I like the Gotta Be More, Sing Along.
Yeah.
And you talked about this record when we were in the room. You wanted to make a kind of a commercial song. I'm like, shit, damn, I'm feeling that hoe. I'm a nigga. That's why I like this song so much. But bouncing.
Right, yeah.
Bouncing was like it's so early into the album. You know, that was one of the first ones when I heard it, I was like, damn. But now I hear the purpose behind it, I'm like, okay, that's what it was. That's why he made that track because it sounds so different from everything else that you put out.
Right.
Bouncing is really that. Okay, let me show these niggas I can make this shit too. While still keep it, like you said, maintaining your integrity.
Yeah, I'm still young. I mean, I grew up on the people that I grew up on, and you can't change that. That's just embedded in my DNA. That's embedded in the way I, came up. Good music. My grandmother was a piano teacher in school, so that's just in me.
It's always like that.
I can make the records that I make and people enjoy, but I'm still a young man living in these times, and I listen to the radio too. I listen to Future too. I listen to 21 Savage. It ain't all Nas all day.
Okay, well, I'm glad you said that because like I said, one of the other songs I liked on the album was Sing Along. And when I first heard it, I was kind of like, damn, this sounded like he's sending shots to somebody.
Yeah.
Like he's sending shots to a lot of what they call bubblegum rappers.
It's to everybody. Whoever take offense to it, I'm talking to them.
Oh, so if the shoe fit.
If the shoe fits, wear it. You know what I'm saying?
So what do you think there is really a difference right now between what they say is bubblegum rap and what real hip hop is? Like, what's your definition of real hip hop? Or do you think there is such a thing as rap? What do you think about that?
Absolutely, it's a thing of real hip hop. The era that I grew up watching, if you sounded like somebody else, that was a crime. You know what I'm saying? We couldn't put out records anymore.
Yeah.
That was the end of your career because that was like blasphemy. That was forbidden. So to see that and it's still, they still let him slide or to be the number one rapper.
He get a pass.
Yeah, he get a pass, or even like to be an MC. And you find out somebody else is writing your rhymes. To me, that's like crazy.
So we can say right now, Nick Grant writes all his own shit.
Absolutely.
So is there anybody you want to write for?
I said in the Breakfast Club interview that I wouldn't write for nobody, but I heard Jay-Z say like right after that, for the right price, I can make your shit tighter. So that's how I feel right now. Like, yeah, if it's money in it, but you gotta come with the right amount of money for me to take my time to work on your shit.
That is true.
Yeah, so
that is true.
For me, I would do it. And it's no disrespect to like certain people that I grow and respect, but like a Kanye West, who's publicly said Rhyme Fest or all these other guys write my lyrics, or Dr. Dre even, but I know these guys are like bigger than music. They don't really sometimes compete to be the number one rapper. Mm-hmm. But when you don't write your rhymes, that takes you out of that conversation.
The MC competition.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, I mean, since we talking about the whole real hip hop thing, I don't know if you heard it a few weeks ago. Funk Flex went off on Lil Yachty for like saying his lack of lyricism in his music, and Yachty said he came back and said, "I just make good music." So, what do you think about the difference between making a good song? Do you think lyrics is required to make good music right now? Because honestly, I think you should have made the Double XL cover last year, and I was kind of heated when I saw that.
I wasn't.
You saw the plethora of.
It would have been too much like Perfect for me to make that list.
Yeah, and a lot all the rappers say, I'm not worried. I know y'all not worried about it, but I wanted to see it.
Yeah,
I've been following you for a minute.
Yeah, man, I don't worry about nobody else's list because that's people's opinions. You know what I'm saying? I feel like I should make every list when we talk about real hip hop and people really rapping and taking it.
And that's what rap is missing now, because a lot of these, they're not really as mentally aggressive. They don't think, if I'm there, I'm there. You got the attitude like, fuck that, I'm number one.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like the guys that are number one really have to rap. When you mention Kendrick, when you mention J. Cole, these guys are number one because they really rap and they passionate about what they do and they don't compromise for nobody. You know what I'm saying? When I look at like a J. Cole, he switched his whole style, but people still look at him and respect him the same way. You know what I mean? And that's admirable. When you see somebody come from that and still, it takes a lot longer, and it takes a while for people to grasp on and catch on to it. But
the lyrics.
Yeah, just when you're trying to stand out and just be different, period, and be about the culture, because it's not really about that no more,
That's true.
You can make a hit record in your room and people say you're the hottest thing out.
Yeah.
Just off one record, it's not about that. But when you taking your time and you traveling that long road, it takes a whole lot longer, but the payoff is much bigger. Yeah.
Okay. So you're from South Carolina.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people when they hear the Southern rap sound, your raps don't typically fit into that mold. So who would you say, because you got the up north flows.
Yeah.
So who would you say influenced you coming
I got
up?
down south flows too.
You do.
I got
you
universal flows. I'm the universal guy. I'm not, if I'm in the South, they'd be like, yo, where you from, New York? If I'm in New York.
Nah, I see some New York niggas try to claim you on Twitter. Like, yo, New York is back, B.
Nah,
I'm like, nah, nigga, you from South Carolina.
That's funny.
No, you can't.
Nah, I'm just
they be trying to take care of everybody.
I'm the universal guy, man. I can relate to anybody from anywhere. I can relate to people on the West Coast, Midwest, down South. I'm universal. I ain't from nowhere. You know what I'm saying? I'm from everywhere because there's people like me everywhere that relate to me.
Bars everywhere.
Yeah, it's people
Shout out to
everywhere,
the chocolate bars.
I grew up on
somewhere.
I grew up on Nas. I grew up on Wu-Tang. I grew up on Jay-Z. But I also grew up on 3000, who's my favorite rapper, my biggest influence. I also grew up on Scarface. I also grew up on Master P. I also grew up on Devin the Dude,
Hip-hop.
UGK. Yeah,
Real student of the game.
Yeah, absolutely. I grew up on all these guys. So, it's not just East Coast. You might hear that because I study a lot of that, but, and when you from the South, I represent that too because you can hear my down South influence.
Exactly. So I got another question. I know in the political and social times we're in right now, when Obama was in office the last 8 years, he really had embraced the hip hop culture.
Yeah.
Now we got this guy in here now. It's kind of like it's real tense right now.
Yeah.
So what do you think the role of hip hop is for black people and America as a whole? Because Obama was real with it and everything. It was kind of joined at the hip then, but now things are different.
Right.
The society's different. The culture is different. So what do you think is the role is going to be with hip hop next 4 or 8 years, however long he in office?
I think these rough times breed good music and good content in music. You know what I'm saying? I think this era is comparable to the Reagan era, which I knew little about when I was growing up, but after doing research, it's kind of similar to now. But I feel like this is worse. You know what I'm saying? With all the stuff that's going on in this time, our president is a reality TV star.
In the purest form, like that's not even a joke.
So when you look at that and you look at how he treat people to not say something in this time, you shouldn't even be a rapper or you shouldn't even be an artist because you're not doing your job.
So do you think like people like Kanye when they are publicly seen with this guy or publicly co-signing this guy, they're doing damage to the culture?
I can't really speak because I don't even know what that conversation was about. I wasn't there, so I can't really. For me to speak about that I would be out of line and be out of position because I don't know what happened.
That's true.
But I know it looked crazy, but I can't really speak about it.
But we don't have the whole picture, so we can't really say that's a bad thing.
We don't have it. We don't have everything.
Okay. Well, we're about to wrap this up, but I gotta say, because I've been wondering about this since I seen a few months ago, during the Hip Hop Award season, saw you take this picture with DJ Khaled.
Yeah.
Now, DJ Khaled was one of the biggest hustlers out there in hip hop right now. What's behind this picture? What can we expect from Grant and Khaled?
Man, some work.
Some work. So this is confirmed. We got some work coming.
I mean,
don't play with
just gonna have to see.
We need this.
You just gotta see.
We need this. The culture needs this.
I just chopped it up with him. He was just, that was.
You chopped it, and a lot of people a lot of people took notice that weekend. Like when you hopped in the cypher, it was like I saw my timeline explode. Like, yo, this guy is nice.
Yeah, I was like the only one trending on Twitter.
Exactly.
So
because you was dope.
I felt dope about that because that showed me in my heart that people want to hear this stuff. But yeah, the conversation with Khaled was just, he thought I inspired him. He thought I was dope. He thought I was one of the ones. So, it wasn't really about working, but I'm pretty sure that's gonna come out of it.
Yeah, and it's good to see somebody like you with such lyrical prowess hop in because like I said, in the era we are, it's a lot of people just putting out stuff that's gonna make good music that doesn't have the particular content that's gonna feed people the right way.
Right.
But you come in with what you talking about with songs we got to replay 8-9 times. I was telling somebody earlier I had to play sing along like 8-9 times to catch all the messages in it. So
I think that's my gift, because I grew up on Biggie. I listen to Biggie now and I still discover stuff that he's.
Hey, you gotta show him the hoodie you got on too.
Yeah. I just got this, by the way. Biggie, who was the reason why I rap. You know what I'm saying? Andre, my biggest influence, but Biggie's my biggest influence, but I don't compare him to like 3000. Because he's like so. I
like Biggie too. I think he's one of the best lyricists that ever lived.
The greatest lyricist, absolutely. But for me, my biggest influence was 3000. But Biggie is the reason why I rap. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, Big Papa video. I remember seeing that video in my mama's living room. And I didn't know what he was doing. I just knew it looked cool, and I wanted to do it. I just didn't know how because at that point I wasn't a rapper.
You knew it looked cool, and guess where we at now? Return of the Cool.
Good segue.
Return of the Cool is on Apple Music, iTunes. Where else can we get it?
Everywhere, all digital retailers, Tidal, Apple Music, Spotify, everywhere. Go get it.
Everywhere. Anything else you got to say? Anything else you want to work on? Anything else you want to shout out and want to plug? I know Culture Republic. That's the any plugs with that?
If anybody knows Stevie Wonder, tell him I need a hook. That's it.
If you're watching this, you know Stevie Wonder. Tell him, tap him on the shoulder, tell him we need a hook. All right? So this was the smoking section. I got my boy Nick Grant. I am, as you know, Kodak. We appreciate you tuning in. Shout out to Miko. Yo, public service announcement. We got some tour dates for you. First of all, we need to give me a social media. So, Nick Grant Music.
Yeah, Nick Grant Music, at Nick Grant Music, NickGrantMusic.
So if you want to see more Nick Grant, if you're in the UK, he has a show coming up on February 20th on BT Awards in June. Title in April. Joey Perk, he will be in Atlanta March 13th.
Run It Up Tour.
Run It Up Tour. Broccoli City Musical, May 6th. Anything else you want to add to that?
That's it. Return to Cool out now.
That's Return to Cool out now. Go get it. All digital retailers. Good ass music. Shout out. We lit.